All right. Thank you, James. Our speaker this evening is Anoop Deshpande. And he's going to be talking to us about creating a value delivery office for extreme business agility. Some takeaways from this are how to set up an organization to bring in extreme business agility, some pointers to transform the PMO office into a value delivery office, and knowledge of the org level value realization metrics. Just to give a little background, Anoop has been instrumental in agile transformation at the enterprise level and has over 25 years of program management, business operations, and a security experience in the software industry. He served at the PMI San Francisco Bay Area chapter as president, a chief governance officer, and a board member. Anoop served as the PMI Silicon Valley chapter president in 2012 as well. He's been on the Agile Advisory Board and taught as an adjunct faculty at UC Berkeley Extension for various Agile and project management curricula. He currently works at a Fortune 100 healthcare organization as a senior director of program management, business operations, and security, and has tremendous energy to drive audacious goals for the company. Before this, he worked at various companies, including Yahoo, Visa, and Broadcom, where he spearheaded multiple cross-organizational plans to successful completion. He has bootstrapped 2 software product startups successfully. Anoop focuses on building Trackagy, one of his young startups where they prepare the students for the exams and take their confidence off the roof, making them successful and taking in further career advancements. The product also helps lead generation and evaluation for business. So I'd like to welcome Anoop Deshpande.
Hey, thank you, Scott. Thanks to the board, all the volunteers, and these participants to spend this evening with us on this topic. So I'm going to share my screen here in a second. Can you guys see my screen? Yes. All right.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. All right. So I encourage everyone to turn on their video if they can, because I'm a mind reader, and to read the minds, I need to see the faces. So that way I can tweak and personalize the content as you need. But you know, of course, do it if possible. Very cool. All right. So this topic I have covered. And I have gotten feedback, incorporated that feedback for a couple of years. The same topic with a little different content was covered during the pandemic at the PMI level, at the PMI Agile Conference. If you know, this virtual conference had about 1,400 people in it. And this was one of the presentations. So that's the reason I just wanted to keep this legacy logo in there, and the logo has changed over time, but I just wanted to keep it so you know that it has been used there, but of course the content has been changed over time that incorporated everything that I've learned in these years. Prior to that, I've used a similar material, but not the same, at the CA World conference in Las Vegas. It's probably a couple more, about 4 years ago, and it attracted about 2,500 people at the conference. So I'm super happy to present the content, a little better content over time, to this audience. What I really worked for last few years is at the organization level. How do we get the maturity of the organization to the next level? And what I have seen in the companies from the Bay Area, as well as in the entire US, is that there's a lot of adoption of Agile. So Agile is trending, and as you can see, even in the PMP test, there are a lot of Agile concepts that are coming in now. So it has become vital to understand how important is to be Agile at a team level. But as you grow and mature in the organization, it's really important to see how the same agile concepts and same lean concepts that are like 100 years old that can really get the productivity and engagement of the employees off the roof. And let's together go into this journey and take a look. This presentation is not that big as well, so I'm hoping I can incorporate all the questions that you might have. So don't worry about the flow. Stop me anytime and ask those questions. And of course, there will be time at the end as well to ask those questions. So of course, these are all my opinions. I'm not representing any company here, current or past. And since this meeting has been recorded, you can always, watch this again if you want to know the concepts better. So with that, here is what is the abstract. It's so important to have the agile at the organization level that will set up the projects at the org level and make them successful over time. And it has been really important for all the organizations to see how they line up with the OKRs or KPIs or goals, whatever you call it, in your organization. So extreme agile implementations actually need not just the team level agility, but also there have to be some more additional concepts that need to be incorporated in order to make it possible to have the teams of teams and teams of teams of teams all up to literally 1,100 people. I have done this exercise with 1,100 people at Yahoo, about 800 at Visa, about 650 at Broadcom, and so on. So this is an experiment that has matured over time. So let's look at it, ask questions as we go ahead. These are all the companies I've contributed to, and a few more over time. But the ones that actually show up here are San Francisco Bay Area chapter, Silicon Valley chapter, Monterey Bay chapter, and now actually your chapter as well. So I'm super glad that I've been contributing to these chapters in whatever capacity I can, and I've learned a lot from these chapters. So if you ask me, I was not the same person before I started volunteering. It's actually just these chapters who gave me opportunities to be on the stage, to voice my opinions, think big, and follow my dreams to make them come true as much as possible. So what we're going to look at this evening is, what are the scaling challenges? What are the approaches to transform huge organizations? And as you know, it's not just at the team level, but at the org level. When I say that, most of the times when I get hired, I see that teams are in silos, and they think about their own success. Smaller divisions, smaller business units think about their success, and there is seldom a thought about, are we as a company winning in this competitive market? These concepts that we're going to talk about will get you to scale to that level. So how do we do that, though? Because there are lots of people involved, lots of opinions involved. And as Steve Jobs actually mentioned once, that if you really want to please everyone in the organization, you can't do that. You have to quit and start selling ice creams, right? So that's exactly what it is. So this is not an approach that is talking about building super consensus and everyone is super happy and kumbaya all the time, but it's a necessary evil to get to the org level agility. So be with me with that in mind, that we are not here to please everyone, but it has to be a top-down as well as bottoms-up approach to make an organization successful. So in order to do that, there are a lot of value streams and mappings and continuous prioritization, incremental planning that have to happen in order to bring in transparency in the organization with lots of automation. Okay, so if you're ready, let's jump right in. Before that, I would like to take a 30 seconds pause to see if there are any questions at this time.
Gosh, get on with it.
All right, let's go ahead. So this is where I start. There is a myth that, you know, if there are 25 teams and all of these teams individually are agile teams, they work on Scrum, which means literally, you know, having daily stand up and planning every 2 weeks and having demos at the end of 2 weeks. Those are agile teams, but that's not an agile organization. It takes a very different approach, a very different mojo in order to get to that level. And so this is what we're going to see, and this is what I'm excited about. I've been, you know, evangelizing these concepts everywhere possible, because I think Agile is at a maturity level now that we all should think about it. And, you know, PMI has really adopted these concepts with, you know, the disciplined Agile method, which actually incorporates a lots of different approaches that exist. With SAFe, which is the scaled Agile framework for the enterprise. Some also have LACE concepts, which is large, you know, Agile teams, and how do we go about bringing agility there, and so on. So when I tried all of these models, I saw that there is no single model that can work flawlessly. Now that we have to think about sorry, Paul, I have to mute you because I think in the background there's a background noise there. But feel free to ask questions and unmute yourself when you can. All right, so it's, again, you might be thinking, oh, value delivery office, never heard of that. I've always heard of, you know, program management, PMO. How is this different? Now, to tell you the truth, is just a catchphrase, just to catch your attention, and also catch program management's attention to see why we exist. If you look at it, if you don't come up with a catchphrase, you don't get enough attention to see why we as program management exist. It's not to, you know, drive dates. It's not to complete projects. It's not to become Scrum Masters and support, you know, the process. That's not why we exist. It's an important concept, because that's where, when the economy tanks, like this time around, right? The very first thing that happens is, you know, the organizations think about, you know, what are the cost centers and what are the profit centers. And if the notion of support is prevalent in the agile PMOs, then, you know, that's a cost center, right? And no one needs cost. They want profit. They want productive work. So how do we change our mindset from thinking as PMO being, you know, practice centers, standardization centers, date driving, meeting coordination, having guardrails on what the process should be. These are all terms that are helpful. Those are skills that are needed, but that doesn't make a PMO successful. They don't contribute enough to the delivery that is needed in any organization, whether the organization is selling a toothpaste or is into the SaaS software business, right? So it's like a spectrum of all the different variety of domains and the variety of industries. Really you can't cut it with just providing those small little contributions. We have to think about value delivery. Now, how we can help deliver value at the right time with the right budget, all that iron triangle. But on top of that is quality. And that's where Agile shines, because that is one of the important aspects that we have to consider, right? If we are a customer, the first thing that we want our banking solution, thinking about banking solution, because we are talking about SVB here, right? Is not just a flawless software. Now, there is the security. Where are all these other built-in aspects that keep not just customers' data safe, but money safe and image safe and so many different things safe, right? So what is the value of the customer? And delivering that is the biggest point. And how can you, as a program manager, contribute to success of that value? That is where the honey is, and that is where we need to tap in and see ourselves. How can we get there? We'll go into another screen, and then I'll again take a pause to see if there are any questions. But if you have, any of you have worked in an agile organization, in a non-agile organization, doesn't matter. But most of the times you might have faced this challenge of how do we scale? Because it's just, it's like changing the tires of a running train or a bus or a shuttle, right? How do we do that? Now, if you are struggling with those things, like me in my earlier career, where I've seen two VPs struggling to gain time with the teams. One is on the business side, talking about, hey, give me this capability, and if you give me that capability, I can bring in $1 million every month, or month over month, right? And great. At the same time, the architecture team says, or the technical debt team says, well, so true. I can bring in another $1 million month over month, but if you don't do this this enhancement, the millions of dollars that we are getting from our customers is going to be a challenge, because if we don't upgrade our code base, our product, we will have security holes, and we might have so many other problems in there, and we will not be able to serve our customers. Now, who wins, right? It's really difficult. So think about, change the mindset and think about, okay, we don't want to do this case by case. We don't want to be in the judgment seat all the time. Instead, think about bringing in something bigger, a bigger concept of multiple funding sources. Now, it's true that there are different sponsors. So there are business sponsors, there are technology sponsors, there are sustaining sponsors, keep the lights on. All these are funding sources, right? So think about that. Think about value streams. What is our customer looking for, right? Is there just one value that we bring to our customers? Think about any solution. Think about banking solution. Think about Facebook. Think about Twitter. Think about Google as a solution. Think about any one of those, that you work on at work, right? Think about what is it that customer pays for, and you would, if you do that exercise with the right set of people inside the organization, you will come up with these value streams. And when you come up with these value streams, you will see there are lots of dependencies in them, right? So there are multiple value streams. So how do you come up with that? Now, third one is project prioritization across streams. Now, that is where the biggest challenge is, right? Like, how do we fund a feature that will bring in $1 million month over month? And how do we also fund a base level, a product level upgrade that will serve our existing customers? Who wins? And how do we make make that judgment call. Can we come up with an automated way to do this better without getting into fights or animated discussions? That's where these challenging situations arise, and most of the organizations actually fail to come up with guardrails on how do we think about that, right? And then, of course, when these things are solved, how do we look at 1,100 people, 800 people, or even like more than 100 people? Think about that in your organization. How do you go about, not at the team level, but at the portfolio level? How do we plan? Now, things are comparatively easy, I would say, when you're thinking about annual operating plan. Now, when you're doing annual operating plan, you're actually not thinking of too much about value delivery. What you're mostly thinking about is, what are the kind of customers are we going to serve? What are we going to, what are the kind of expenses we have? What are the kinds of revenues we are looking at? How can you, and what quarter can we get what, right? And that becomes an annual operating plan. I'm simplifying it too much, I know, but that has been most of the view about portfolio level planning. But how do you go about really planning what customer is looking for, keeping customer obsession in your mind, because that's how these big companies like Amazon, Google's, and of the world actually think about. They keep customers right at the center and do all of what they do all day long, looking at whether it's for a customer or not. I'll take a quick pause here and see if there are any other challenges that you think about that are not covered in here in terms of scaling.
Hey, Anup, Eric. So the value stream, multiple value streams and dependencies, your second bullet there, and then prioritizing against those value streams. Those are challenges. I think another challenge is people will talk sometimes about value streams, but what is the cost to get that value stream in place? Where there might be a significant cost that the amount of the size of the iceberg underneath the water, if you will. So I think that's a consideration when you're talking about prioritization, is the overall ROI, not in addition to the value stream itself.
Absolutely. Okay, great points, Eric. You're hitting the right points there, and I really think there is always a cost for doing something right that will serve the company over time. That really doesn't mean, and I'm talking about some of the companies in the Valley, but are really big companies. They're really big companies who are doing financially well, and they're actually the finance domain. Not the company that I worked for. I don't want to, because this is getting recorded. But there are some companies that actually have tried to do this by completely dismantling the sort of teams that existed, and tried to build value streams by literally crashing everything and bringing in teams that really coincide with value streams. And I think that is not a good idea. What is a good idea is teams being at the component level, but bringing in value by having teams come together to serve a value stream. And value stream meaning, for example, everyone has been furiously shopping at Amazon these days, so it's an easy example to get to. So when you're talking about value streams for Amazon, what does really why do you really pay that Prime subscription every year? Now, think about it, and you'll get literally top 5, top 6 answers. One of them would be, well, the best thing about that is everything is click away. I can go and shop my shoes from $9 to $999, and they get delivered at my doorstep within 2 days. Value number one. Okay. Value number two is, oh, by the way, I watch these movies and they're awesome. And instead of getting bored and going and spending a lot of money in the theaters, I watch these movies, and that's great, perfect. Go on and on. So these are value streams. You really don't have to dismantle any of the teams to understand these value streams. And if you understand what those are, just by getting aware of what those are and what is not fitting into those value streams can be deprioritized, right there, right? If you think about, you can't cancel or refund for the goods that you don't want, but the priority goes higher. As an example, a wrong example, a priority goes higher to, oh, but we need to get these stars around, the product and how the product, what do people think about a certain product? Is it a 4-star or 3-star or 5-star? Let's do that first instead of refunding people for the goods that they bought by mistake. Why would you do that, right? As soon as you know what the value stream looks like, you know how to prioritize certain capabilities, right there. So having your organization understand these value streams and values to the customer, you empower the team level, the root of the organization, and empower them to speak out what they really think. So it's not top-down organization anymore. It's not about a VP saying, go do this feature, right? They can't do that. They cannot get away with it, because an engineer is going to ask them, but what about customer value? Does it provide more value than you think a refund can provide? And the wrong decision will fall flat on their face right there, right? So is there a cost to it? To your question, yes, there is a cost to it, but is it worth it? Absolutely worth it, right? Everyone should think about that and surround themselves with value streams and do the right things. Good question, Eric. Thank you so much. So let's look at a few others. Change management across value streams. Now, it's an offshoot of how do we do a portfolio planning. And when you do a portfolio planning, there will be change requests. Now, if there are change requests, how do we manage those changes? Is that like a waterfall? Is that like a hybrid? No changes because Scrum says so. That works at a team level. You cannot do that at an org level, right? Have you tried saying to your VP that, hey, I know there's a multi-million-dollar customer waiting right there, but we are all occupied for next 3 months to deliver smaller value items and not entertaining this multi-million-dollar new customer. No, you just cannot have those kind of discussions. You can have that discussion for 2 weeks at a team level, absolutely, but that value doesn't carry over at the org level, cannot carry over to the org level. So we all have to think about that. And when you're doing that, the most important thing is you get support from all of these 600, 800, 1,100 people only when there is a transparency involved, only when you know why some of the earlier prioritized backlog items are getting swapped out, right? If they know what that is, if they are aligned, if the new items are aligned better with the value streams, you bring in that transparency. The transparency is about what we are working on, how well did we do, what should we do next, right? These are all the transparency level metrics that we need to think about. And that is really important. So having these scaling challenges, there are different solutions for each of these. And then team level execution accountability, right? Yes, team level execution is important. We want to keep the agility as is, right? So we don't want to take that away by putting too much of a top-down autocratic organization. But nevertheless, the other side of the coin is we cannot be hiding behind the myth of agility, and I'm using these words carefully. The myth about agile teams is that you don't need to commit anything. Time is everything, right? And so if time is over, everything is over. If we couldn't deliver any, something in that time, we'll deliver next time. Interesting. Well, in the right spirit, that is true, but in the wrong spirit, if you're hiding behind this concept of not delivering because the time is over, you cannot have a scope box and a time box all at the same time. You're actually ruining the overall pace of delivery, overall spirit of delivery, overall value stream concept. So there has to be a team level commitment. So no wonder when there are sprint planning happening, there's a sprint commitment there. It's not loosey-goosey. It's not about, oh, we will plan, but we commit to nothing. No, the Scrum, Agile, Lean, no one actually talks about no commitments. It's a myth, right? So we need to change some of these older myths around agility, and when these myths are truths in some companies, no wonder the leaders don't like it and they want to settle on hybrid, right? And settle on hybrid means what they're really saying is, no, you're committing to scope and time. Now you got into a bad spot, right? Because that's hybrid. So hybrid is not a great concept because you're basically saying, I'm gonna get into a very silly example there. It's almost like, hey, let's have fun over the weekend. Let's go to Vegas. Let's fly there. And when you are in the flight and you can start seeing Vegas, you think this is good enough. This is good enough. Let's be here because I can see Vegas and I can have a little bit of fun here right in the flight. Let's be here. That's hybrid. You actually left your airport and you never reached another airport. You never reached to a place where you can really have fun, right? And that was the point. So it's a silly example there, but you can kind of, it makes a point that hybrid is not a good idea. So if an organization is asking you to come in and help them into hybrid agile, be aware of that. And if you're a leader, you can go there and try to get them into a full agility. The same concept goes into budgeting and accounting. A lot of people, and this is a new concept, I did not add that earlier, but I think it's an important thing because if budgets and accounts are frozen with annual operating plan, you can only do so much. So that means your budgets and accounting also need to be agile. They need to be fungible, right? You can keep, and that's why the real good organization have come up with the concept of ZBB, which means zero budget based ZBB, so zero budget based accounting, which means the overall budget is neutral over the year, but you can always use some of the budget from one initiative to the other, and so on. So that was just a quick thing about the challenges and scaling, but we'll dive a little deeper in this session and see how we can make this happen. So why and what I could cover a little bit really quickly. I can talk on and on, but we need to go and look at how as well. Okay. So approaches to transform huge organizations. So what is the value prop, right? That is what we need to see, and how do we get to that value prop is what the next thing should be. So we talked about multiple funding sources. Now there is business and there's technology. Most of the times, I really think there are probably a handful of businesses that really don't need technology. These days, these two things go hand in hand because business cannot survive and thrive without technology. So both the things have to be together. Now, when they are working together, there will be healthy conflicts and there could be unhealthy conflicts. Now, so if you look at it, it's like business funding for new initiatives that can get to new markets, or serving the existing customers, or sustaining, or serving tech debt. Now, tech debt, as soon as you say that, will business ever fund that? No. So that's the reason there has to be a part of budget allocated to technology that can take care of new initiatives and enhancements on the existing functionality, right? So if you are a little technical, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go a little bit into technology here. But if you're a software person or a network person, you know that softwares are much better, easy to maintain if you have, instead of a big monolith of code with millions of lines of code, into micro services architecture, having 15, 20 services working, so you can always upgrade a service instead of big bang releases. So that way you can do quick releases and so on. So why would business fund that? They should not be, and we're not supposed to ask them for any money for that, because is customer being served by having microservices architecture? Actually not, but indirectly yes, because that also means the uptime, the high availability can be achieved only if we go into those new technologies and new technology thinking, right? So that's where technology comes in. And if it is a business functionality to get into a new segment of customers, then that needs to be funded by the business. So what it really means is your SVPs, or whoever is your heads of business and technology, they need to play golf for a day, come back and provide some kind of guidance, whether technology is 40% and business 60%, or technology is 30% and business 70%. Now, they cannot really do this. Over time, I realized that they actually don't know what numbers they need to give as a guidance, as a North Star for the organizations. It actually comes from the past. So they have asked me, when I asked them, like, go play golf and tell me whether it's going to be 60-40 or 70-30, I've always heard back from them saying, can you tell me what the last 2 years were, right? And if the last 2 years were 60-40, okay, so somehow we need to think about how do we take care of our tech debt and get to a place where maybe we do 50-50 for this year, so that you focus on technology, get it into really good microservices architecture, but then after that your funding goes down, right? So from there, it has to be 70-30, 80-20. Can we do that? Those good conversations start happening. And once they happen, all the fights between technology on what features to build goes away, because there is funding available for technology as well as business. And this is a very important concept. And many organizations are struggling with that. It's a very easy fix, but only when you make them aware that it's a huge time sink to keep on discussing and trying to have one big backlog. Now, one big backlog concept comes from that agile at team level, right? Oh, we need to have one backlog. Understand, at a team level, at an organization level, you don't need to, and you cannot, and you should not. There has to be two backlogs, one for technology, one for business, but it has been funded in that way. So what is the line on the sand for spending on the technology, and what's the line on the sand for the business funding as well. Quick pause here to see if there are any questions. Perfect. Going ahead. So now we talked about value streams. Now, what is that buzzword about, right? It's like, okay, so let's go where the rubber meets the road, right? What is that value stream? It's nothing but a process of creating, producing, and delivering a good or a service to the market, right? It's like, duh, right? It's like every company should be thinking about this, right? And they are. If there's a company and they're making money and you are employed, there's something going right there. There has to be some kind of value stream. Somebody is thinking about it. Maybe their words are different, which is okay. So this is a old wine in a new bottle, okay? But if you get awareness of, let's think about value streams, not one, right? It cannot be one unless you are a small startup with with 5 people on the payroll. Then you are talking about one value stream. I understand, but as soon as you get bigger, you cannot have one value stream. So if you are in that one value streams syndrome, you need to get out and start interviewing your customers to see what do they consider value out of your product. And if they are talking about top 10, and when you interview like 10 customers, 100 customers, you'll be able to see some patterns in there. And if you pick those patterns, and you can easily come up with 4, 5, 6 value streams, and having your teams align to those value streams. If you have 25 teams and you get into 5 streams, now you will see that very easily about 20 teams can really go and sit into one of those value streams. Now, only 5 teams will be in a place where it's like, interesting, I provide value to value stream 1 as well as value stream 2. Interesting. Okay, so should we break you into 2? Or should we keep you as a service provider to both the value streams? It's a conversation. If it's a big enough team, like 9 people, then you should think about having 4 and 5 people and aligning them with the particular value stream. So that way it's a quick, it's a clean division of what teams belong, and provide what value stream or work on those value streams. If you cannot, like, for example, database people, release people, there are many such services, or even PMO, VDO, these people are not working at a value stream level. They are one level obfuscated to that. So they are looking at all the value streams, and maybe they are service providers with a program manager focusing on one value stream, the other program manager working on the other value stream. So you can always have a focus on them as well. So that way it's not a gooey ball of like, we do everything. Because if you start with that, you'll see that many of the teams will keep saying that, and you will not gain any responsible way of divvying that up and aligning them with value streams. Okay, how do you create value stream? As simple as think about organized value streams, right? So it's basically start from here. When you organize into value streams, you start monitoring and controlling value streams. Now, this word we love because it's a typical project management world where we think about inception, planning, execution, monitoring, control, and closing. Now that's exactly what this is, but a little better, because we are talking about transparency here. We're talking about the metrics that are needed to monitor and control the value stream. Things that people are working on which are not aligned to value stream should be thrown out, right? Because they are not aligning to value stream, they should not be prioritized. You cannot have your private, pet project for a SVP going around, because that is actually going to be detrimental to the overall organization, and that will start surfacing out as soon as you organize yourself into value streams. You bring in those metrics that actually show the value continuously, whether the value is going up over time, having those NPS surveys with the customers to see if they are getting more and more value out of those value streams, all the teams that are actually providing value through the value stream need to be excited about these metrics, and they should actually be getting up early from their bed, looking at, I need to get these numbers better, right? And improve value streams. Now that's once you know what those numbers are, right? You want to improve them, and that's where the agility comes in. And so at a team level, you can always say, oh, let's do get to a better velocity, get a better predictability, get a better productivity. Well, in this case here, the value streams, the metrics are going to be different. It's about customer happiness, customer satisfaction, getting more and more customers using some of these features, new customer segments using these features, and so on. It's a very different level of thinking. And then plan the value streams. And we'll plan the value streams again, right? With that, everything is always changing in order to keep the value stream sustainable, right? But once you have the right people aligned to it, you can create this hoop of what it looks like, manage the value streams, monitor, improve, plan. So now at a value stream level, you started going agile, right? And if you look at, zoom out one more, and you will see, oh, multiple value streams actually can provide, more and more. Now, simple, define customer value, create, analyze customer state of value stream management, create and analyze the future state of value stream, and then create an action plan. Now, all of a sudden, you're not talking about a team. You're now talking about teams of teams, but it's still a smaller set. It's not the whole big, ocean boiling. It's still, small pods, right? And that's where, if you have known this word is coming from what is that? Spotify. So Spotify has come up with different words around that, and that's where they call it a pod, right? So a set of small teams that actually look at value streams. Okay. So if you look at that, now you get into a big feature that you want to create. Again, going back to basic values of project management, program management. If you have a big feature, break them down, right? Break them down further, right? So to provide that big value of that big feature, you have created smaller feature, and these smaller features are all over the place. That is gonna be the marketable customer feature, or you can call it a capability, right? Now, this particular feature needs to be is to be done by value stream 1. That doesn't mean it needs to be done all by themselves. That's not what I really said. What I'm saying is you can have multiple value streams, and there are interdependent projects, interdependencies. Now I'm using that word, not dependency, but interdependency. So you're going from a simplistic view to a little complexity, but I'm not making it complicated. It's complex, and complex is natural, right? Bigger teams, bigger set of customers, things will be complex. You cannot run away from there. You cannot make it more simplistic. But you don't have to complicate that. So it cannot be just one big gooey ball of a feature, and then support. I need support from other streams. You cannot do that. But you can have smaller features, being contributed by other value streams, and then ultimately, this value stream 1 is packaging all of the wonderful feature values and bringing it together. This is nothing but an integrated feature, which is actually a customer marketable feature, right? So once you do that, you will see that the responsibility and accountability of delivering this customer level capability or a feature is by getting some of these features done from the other value streams. Okay, so there will be interdependencies on different value streams, and that's why you really don't have to completely remove the older teams and bring them back again. That's a wrong concept. Instead, aligning your teams to go into value streams and then still work together to make sure there's a single value stream level accountability for delivering that customer feature, which is a huge value for the ultimate customer. I'll take a quick pause here and see if there are any questions. Cool. All right, let's go ahead. And so CA Agile Central, this product got renamed as Rally. It started with Rally, became CA Agile Central over time, and then back to Rally today. But we are tool agnostic. I'm not talking about tool. I'm not marketing tool. You can use your same Atlassian suite where you have like Jira. If you have Rally, if you're even like a smaller company, and if you're using Trello, I don't care, or Asana, I don't care either, right? If as far as they can do a little bit of portfolio management level work, and that's where the problem is, by the way. I have done this over and over, and I've seen that Jira actually doesn't cut it because it can do only story and a feature level, but you cannot do feature of features, right? As a capability or initiative, right? Those levels you cannot do, and that's where other PPM products come in. So that's why you need to go into enterprise level. So if your company is bigger, you will need to go into those different levels. That is really important because I'll tell you a little bit more about this. So think about your SVP who has 1,000 people under him or her. Say that security is the topmost priority for us this year, right? They go announce that. Go do whatever you think is right in order to make sure the product is secure, right? If they say that, then what does that mean? Well, that's an initiative. So all the VPs under this SVP will start thinking about, well, what are those programs that we can run? Now, these are different words. It doesn't mean much. I'm just trying to say that program is a little smaller than the initiative. In your organization, you can name it completely differently, right? Initiative and capabilities works, doesn't matter. And each of those capabilities have features in them and so on. So you can make as many levels as you want, but not more than really 4. So this is where I have seen companies that are really big, like 1,100 people in the organization, in the division. They probably need these 4 layers. Companies like Visa and bigger companies who have bigger strengths kind of need this because the teams care about what stories do they need to knock out and knock off every sprint, and what features do they belong to. Right? If you look at their managers or program managers, the project managers, program managers, scrum masters, they think about, okay, what project they belong to, what features do we take care of, and what stories does it have, right? So their focus one level up is project to features. They may not know every detail about a story, right? A team has to know about the details of the story, but one level up, a manager doesn't need to know nitty-gritty details about the stories. They can go into projects and features. Now, if you go into director and VP level, right, they may not know what these small little features look like. What they really care about is what are the big programs that we cater to, and what are those projects that we are accountable for, or we support for other value streams, right? So they may be accountable for project 1, and they may be supporting project 2 and project 3 that actually belong to other value streams. That can happen. So they know these are the programs they are working on, and these are the projects they're working on. What is the accountability and support levels for their teams? so that they can report back through the chain of command how they're doing. So if you can use the same concept on OKRs, right? OKRs at the SVP level, VP level, management level, and the team level is exactly the same sort of concept, right? So, and then at a SVP level, when they say, well, security is the highest priority, they want to go one level down, when they are working with their directs to see, okay, so what are you doing about, the best security in the world for our company, right? And then the staff might tell them, oh, well, what it really means is we'll take care of vulnerabilities. If it is a P1 vulnerability, our SLA for that is going to be less than 24 hours. We're going to make our product secure right away. Now, if the security threat is not so much and not so prevalent, maybe we'll take about 3 to 5 days. And if it is really a small little thing and it's not going to jeopardize our product much, but it has happened to our customers and we don't see a way to get in to us, but there are some small little loopholes here and there, then the SLA is 7 to 13 days. Okay, all right, so that's vulnerability detection and fixing. What about the others, right? Oh, compliance, interesting. Okay, all right. Privacy, all right, okay, yeah, that's another one. So that's where they want to hang on, right? And so we want all of these people in the hierarchy, right? We are not in that utopian world where we say, oh, now that we have agile teams and agile organization, we don't need all of these layers. Well, those layers are not going to go away. Whatever companies who try to get rid of all these layers got into another set of trouble, right? It's like it becomes anarchy, right? It's just can't produce anything because the human beings are wired to work, through the management chain. So, but having the management chain focus on their deliverables and getting it done through their counterparts is what is important. So having these really makes a lot of sense. So force ranking maintained at project level. So when you can do the ranking at this level, that is what is needed. Be it a business level priority, be it a technology level priority. This is what the level needs to be. And when the features are and the stories are basically inheriting that priority. So if project 1, 2, and 3, this one becomes feature 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and story becomes 1.1.1, and so on. I'm not talking about numbering scheme here, but you get the point of the priority. So that way, you see many of the places that many projects are started, but nothing is ending. Well, that will stop happening because that this is not just project names, but that is what the priority looks like, right? So you will take the project 1 and 2 maybe and get them to completion, and then touch project 3, 4, and 5 and get them into completion, and so on. So it's easier to rally around at this middle level and get all of the teams look at this level and then decide on their feature level backlog and their story level, sprint level backlog, and so on, right? So all of a sudden you start getting into org level agility, right? So you start getting a sense of that. You can smell there's an org level agility there. Now, when you have these PR, basically is like a project level capabilities, and so they might belong to they smell like more like value stream 1, right? Because that's more of a value there, but they will need support from other value streams. That's fine, but they are ranked this way, so they know that value stream 1 can pick up this one, value stream 3 can pick up that one, value stream 1 can pick up these 2. So you see value stream 2 are going to focus on these 2 projects. Value stream 3 is going to pick up these 2 projects and whatever it takes to finish them, and then go on from there. So there's a small book, by the way, which is called Stop Starting, Start Finishing. It's a very tiny book. It's going to take you literally like less than half an hour to read, but it's going to be a great value to you. Again, stop starting, start finishing. The words tell you enough about this exact concept. They have not elaborated on that, but what they have said is if your teams have picked up something to be done, don't get them hanging anywhere. Reduce the waste, reduce the, get them out of the holding pattern and ask them to finish something before they can pick up the next lot. I'm going to take a quick break here and see if there are any questions. Okay, all right. So now, if you have been with me, you understand how this is. Now we're going one level deeper again, right? So if you look at these project backlog, not story level backlog, not a feature level backlog, project level backlog, because this is where you always need to hone in and start seeing this like a hawk, right? Now, some of these projects will be in flight any moment of your cycle, right? And then if you start getting them sized, right, which means t-shirt sizing at the project level, just get t-shirt sizes, like, with your leads. How big is it? Small, medium, large, extra large, sense of it, right? With that sense, you can start thinking about, when you know that as an organization, I can do, and if you start putting numbers small to small, medium, large as like say 21, 40, 67, and 80, you know by doing this, how much can you do every quarter, right? What is that number, right? And that number could be 268. All right. So with the new sizing, we can put a line on the sand and say, okay, these are the projects we're going to take next because they are all prioritized. And now we start going to get into teams to start, refining them, defining them better, right? So that the teams start understanding them and come up with more planning, right, of what that means. Now, that's where you start doing that. And in order to get to a little more detailed size, you need to get to the next level as well and start saying, this is something that's coming like, 4 months from now, 5 months from now, but we need to just understand what that looks like. So creating hooks, creating a bigger level understanding of what is coming your way as a value stream actually brings in a lot of excitement in the teams. If you make their vision a tunnel vision, you won't get the best productivity from them. So this is where you spend very less time in order to make them aware of what else could be coming, but they can change in prioritization, because if they haven't picked up, you have all the ways to go in and change the priorities all the way until the planning has happened for teams of teams, right, at the value stream level. And there will be a lot of new projects coming in for new product segment, new tech debts, and so on and so forth. And no worries about that. If there are hundreds of them coming in, don't worry about them because we haven't touched them yet. Somebody has not even done enough due diligence to put them in the right priority order. So, this bag has the top, about 15 projects in all sorts of ranking order, right? So the best ranking order is what is in flight. A little loosey-goosey is where the sizing and details are going on. Little even less, like that's why this gray, right? It's gray, or we just don't know enough about it. But as we start going into working on it, to start deploying it, completing it, as we go closer to getting into plan and execution, we will understand their priorities better. So now you're creating a nice pipeline there at the project level, and you have a way of embracing change right here, right? So if something has to jump up from completely new into this, well, you need to go through hoops to make someone understand why that is important. It's not that you cannot do it, you can do it, but you need to have enough information with having right kind of canvas to talk about pains and gains of customers, their value, how that value is higher than some of that some of the projects that already exist, right? And you can jump right there. So that way you are agile at the organization level. And then you bring in again, at a Scrum teams level, so multiple teams, it's not one team, right? So as a value stream, you might be working on some of these projects, and some other projects are coming in, as you see here. These are the projects that are coming in to get refined, but you're here in January, and what you need to really do is start looking at a certain set of sprints. Now, if these are 2-week sprints, you're talking about 3 months, right? If you give enough visibility around 6 sprints worth of work to your leadership, they're excited about what's coming in every 3 months. Now, 1 month passed, few more new items have come in, few new items have been completed, right? These are all completed ones. These are in execution. These are coming in fast and furious, and these are getting concept sized. These are getting basically some little information about what those look like, so that you're getting into the pipeline there, right? So every time you do that, there will be a lot of value streams here, and there are projects that are going on. And if you look at it after a month, you'll see, these projects are completed, right? Some of the other projects are in the execution phase, and new projects are coming in, and new projects are getting built. And over time, you'll see, more projects are finishing, more, some of the other projects are in the mix in terms of execution, and some new projects are coming in as we speak. So you create a pipeline and the excitement of what is finishing, what is being done, what is coming in, and you have more and more projects in the future, better and better chances of they getting refined, or they getting different value over time, because you're interviewing your customers to understand whether those projects make sense to them or not, right? So I'll take a quick pause here and see if there are any questions.
Hey, Anoop, I had a question on the previous slide.
Sure.
If looking at the project backlog list, if in order for the PR7 through PR11, in order for them to move to in-flight, detail size and release planning has to be complete. In order for groomed and concept size to be complete to move up to here, that has to be completed to move into this level. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. Absolutely. And more and more you go down,
right,
less and less definite it is. Right. Yes. So less of the and that is why this is very exciting for people, that they can keep on adding projects, but by default they go here. They're ungroomed, or the new word for that is unrefined, or not planned. But if someone thinks by interviewing 10 customers that, wow, this is really high value, and that particular project should really override PR10, they can do that, but they have to get through the leads to get them understand what that looks like. Why is it a high value? Go through the level of understanding with the other leads and get their t-shirt size. So if the t-shirt size gets spitted out, that really means that there is a level of understanding there in the leads. Now, that is how there's no one leader. It's more about more and more understanding as the pipe goes up, right? So here is no understanding, here is a little more understanding, here is a high level of understanding, and not only in leads but also in teams, so that when the planning happens right here, they all go in flight, because they're carved out enough information by spiking, investigation, so on and so forth, that they can be picked up for delivery.
So it is possible for, say, PR13 and PR14 to be completed before PR12, and then have to be inserted somewhere between, say, PR8 and PR9, and that's a discussion that has to be had.
Absolutely, absolutely, you got it. Yeah, that's how there are some forums where they come like every 2 weeks. You can have a forum where you're talking about managing this. Now, why that forum? I never call it like a CCB. It's not change control board, because that's very bureaucratic. Like, it means a total bureaucracy, right? So instead of that, it's a forum. So anyone who thinks that, and they're empowered because they know what the initiative looks like, what the OKR looks like, right? So if they understand and they have enough data from the customers that they can make a case of having PR 14 jump and become 8.5, absolutely, by
Yeah.
all means, every 2 weeks you can do that, come up with your thing, and almost like in the right sense, discuss and have a consensus building at a team level, and say at a leadership level, and say, you understand, you like it, yes, okay, so if you like it, so that was ungroomed to groomed here, like, you like it at a leader level, whatever that level is. They spit it out, the concept size. Yeah, it's a small one, it's a medium one. They will say that only when they have enough understanding and they are backing you up, right? So when they back you up, you have that. Now you got to say, okay, great. Now can we try, get into 8.5? Sure, let's do that. Now, before you do that, you need to go into the teams level and make sure the teams understand. They do their spikes. They spit out a detailed size for it. Earlier it was like small, medium, large, and small was 21. And when they actually detail sized it with at a feature level or whatever, then they thought, oh, you thought it's 21? It's actually not. It's about 36. Well, okay, all right. Now we have better understanding, but the teams understand it. And if you go into like either PI planning level, quarterly planning level, whatever that is, or even monthly planning level, then they would say, okay, we have enough understanding. We should be able to go into planning, do a little more due diligence, go at the story level, write those out, and make them, prepare them to plan them so that we go into the flight, right? So there's a lot of rigor going on there. Now, at the start, teams start thinking, oh my goodness, there's a lot of overhead. Well, no, actually not. Think about it, because these are different layers of people. They're not the same people who are getting pulled all the time. This is where the product management plays most of the time, right? And the leadership for the technology. And when this goes here, then it goes to like middle management, line management, sort of place, right? So different set of people, right? Now you're getting a lot of good communication out there, right? So when they back you up, then you go into the team level. So different set of people again, right? So every time you go more deeper and deeper and deeper, you're communicating to those levels so that the value stream teams now start understanding, and you got a good consensus around that in terms of how they are relating to OKRs, how they are related to initiatives and programs and so on. So you're traveling down in the pipe to make everyone understand, and that's the value of that, right? So there's no waste in there. So by the time it goes into the planning level, almost everyone knows about it. So there is no surprise, right? That's the idea.
Okay. Thank you.
Very cool. Very cool. Good question there. Thank you. So just a few things here. So how do we do this portfolio planning flow, right? What does the flow look like? And, Scott, you asked the question right. So, anyone can throw a new project in the backlog. Now that has to be approved by business or technology, right? So, and then go into, it crosses that from vetting by the product management to go into product owner. Now, the concept of product management and product owner, we don't have much time about, but, in a single sentence, I would say product management is looking inside out. They're looking at the customer. What do you want? Knowing and having an understanding of markets, right? They approve it to say, yes, this makes sense to let's spend dollars to get this out and deliver. Now, when they do that, they cannot come back and say, well, I never said, never said to spend so much time on Teams to get it out. No, they're now on the hook to not just get it delivered, but they are on the hook to get that revenue, that customer satisfaction, that customer delight, or that new segment. They're on the hook to do that because you approved that business, business project, and we delivered it. Now, where is that new $1 million month-over-month revenue, right? Go get it because you're on the hook for that, right? And then when you go into the product, right? So when they approve it here, it goes into now technology. So these are the product owners who are looking outside in, which means they actually work all day long with product managers to look at the teams and say, okay, I'm going to write system level feature, system level stories for you. I understand what customers are looking for because I know I've interviewed these product managers, so I know what these customers are looking for. So that gets there. Now, when they do that and they keep on going back, like, I don't know enough about what this feature looks like. So they go back to product backlog, get it vetted, make sure business is approving, because business might be approving a particular program, right? And when technology folks are writing project or they're writing features, they need to go back to the business folks to make sure what they have in mind is getting delivered. So if there are gaps, they need to go back, right? So they do that until business thinks that the smaller pieces are like, if the estimated value of the program is 10, these 5 features bring in the value of 10, right? So only then business would say, yes, approved. And so that is the time when the features are ready, and then the stories get ready as well. And the PO creates these stories, and now they go back into the teams, and that's where VDO comes in, Value Delivery Office comes in, and say, hey, okay, we are not just looking at these things, but we are looking at how do we, is it at a place where we can get a concept size from the leaders? Now, why having VDO getting injected there is important is because the technology and product management are focused in their own areas. Value Delivery Office or program managers are the people who are going across, right? They're going across. So so they know, and they need to know what is the value that is being provided. So if that is a value, they are the people who would work with the leadership to make sure that no stones are unturned in terms of understanding and then getting the concept size back to the organization. So in this way, they get roped, they get involved at a much higher level so that they can work with the teams and get that done. So high level program management and then Scrum Masters are different. And that's why you see program management and Scrum Master being different at these bigger companies. And if they're not doing their job right, everything will start falling down. Right. So when the stories are ready, the business reviews them as well, because now again, if these stories are little tiny things and there are like 25 of them, when the teams deliver these 25, is that the value that gets delivered at the customer level? They're always involved. They just don't go away back to looking at the market. No, business reviews it. So they are on the hook again. And then Value Delivery Office or product manager, program managers, they go to the teams and make sure the product owners, product managers are getting pulled. The interdependency work is going on. The risk risks are identified and they're mitigated as we go. And the detail size is what comes out of those spikes. And that makes the planning complete. And then it goes into execution. And then from execution to be done, right? That's where the dev comes in, right? So that's how you see business product management, product owners, Value Delivery Office, and dev. They are all working on it in resonance in a way to make sure the right value comes out of every little release that happens. Any question there? All right. Let's see. So now, just kind of wrapping up. So think about change, scope change, architectural change, delivery date change. All these are kind of changes that happen in discoveries, right? So we are in the day and age where we just don't know what we don't know, right? So there's like a known unknown, right? And there's an unknown unknown, and that's unknowable. Right, that's the third category, unknowable. You just don't know what customers will like and what will they not like, what is going to be not a big value, even though there have been so many discussions. So there will be a lot of discoveries, a lot of date delivery changes, all these things will keep happening, right? So if they're happening, there has to be a way to deal with that, right? So the way to deal with that is, that's where we would say the sort of a nimble change control board comes in and say, hey, okay, we cannot deliver this particular customer level value on the date we said we would. Okay, so what does it look like? When can we deliver? But now there are no surprises again, because product management, product owners, dev people, value delivery folks, all of them are involved. They're roped in at the right level. So if something is changing, it just needs to have the same channel of communication with each other to make sure that they understand. And what it means is, when there's another next month planning, if you remember the diagram or that particular graphic, which moved from month to month to month, you're not going to see, of course, in the waterfall method, it was all about like, you get to know about it after a year, after 6 months, right? So you moved from there to scaled agile planning, where you know what is in 3 months, but only after 3 months you got to know whether those got delivered or not. But in this particular case, it's extreme business agility, because everyone's involved and we are planning this every month. But what are we planning? Are we planning this whole big thing all the time? No, only the increments, right? So only if there's a scope change, only if there's a new project that is coming in. So you're talking about this delta, that every month few things change. So no one should come from start of the year understanding to middle of the year and say, but you're not delivering what you're supposed to deliver. Like, no, that confusion, that surprise element goes away, because everyone is in the loop on a month-to-month basis, and we are carving out enough time to make sure things get delivered. So that also means that, is the scope fixed? Well, no, scope cannot be fixed, because there could be a scope change, right? Oh, the architectural change? Yes, there could be an architecture. There is a discovery. Well, everything is the same, but we couldn't fix it. We couldn't write the code that we thought we would. Now, it's an everyday scenario. Why are we still surprised in the industry when someone or a particular team doesn't deliver? Like, what do we not know about? This was a guesstimate, and this is reality, right? So instead of fighting that, why not create a communication channel to keep on understanding that, so that no one is surprised, and we still get the agility at the org level? Isn't that important? And so we are not losing the basic concept of agile teams means time boxed. So which means release will happen anyway on 15th of every month, sure, which also means the features may or may not get delivered in there, but not as a hiding hiding behind the myth is, oh, well, okay, only time is fixed and not the scope. No, here it is about committing to what that means, but changing over time on depending on what comes around, right? So that's why change management is important. That creates a real good communication within the org, and the belongingness of whatever comes around is much more, and the acceptance of changing something is much more, because they are all in the sort of weeds, but at their own levels, right? And so the pushback is lower over time. Okay, I want to take a quick pause here. We're almost done, but any questions so far? Okay, all right. So transparency at org level, these are just some planning trends. So you see October, November, December, like every month we are planning, and these are real ones. I just removed the proprietary information from it, but you think about at the org level, 34 was something that the projects were submitted, 32 worth story points were concept sized, and 32 were detail sized. Now, as you go around, you'll see more and more get done, more and more coming in, right? So on and so forth. So every time, these are the ABCDEs. So business approved, right, by this date, technology approved by this date. So, you know, there's a calendar which is date driven, but what it means is if a project is not prioritized for that month in August by 7/25 for the August planning, well, it's not in the August planning then, right? The things that come out of all these 5 loops, right? Business approved, technology approved, concept size, detail size, stories ready, and the readout is ready with planning. Well, then it's planned, right? So all of these things. So which means that even though you think that you want to make sure your projects need to be in that August planning, but if you don't have a rigor and you don't get the consensus from the right people, you may not hit the timeline. And if you don't hit the timeline, you know why some of those things did not get planned. Well, if we did not do enough rigor, you won't get the planning. But don't worry about it. You don't have to wait for 6 months. You don't have to wait for a year. You don't have to even wait for 3 months. How about next month, right? Because we couldn't finish it, we have to take a slack of a month, right? So keep things stable. So teams are still stable month over month over month, right? So you're not losing you're not making your teams unstable in terms of whatever comes, right? It's like, no, they still have the stability, but the teams above those smaller sprint teams, they are the ones who are hustling around, making sure their things are done on time. And if it's not done on time, there's a reason. They accept it and move on, because they know, okay, in another 30 days, you know, things will be planned, right? So that's how, you know, every week I used to have these meetings where I used to show, right, this is where we are, this is where we are now, right now. Sprint, you know, September planning is there, and all these business product management would know, okay, 8/28, if my project is in there, great, so we can do it, right? So all of these things keep on happening at the same time, at the Uber level, at the program level, right? And that's how it goes on. And you can use very different set of tools to get these things done. I've used Rally, Jira, and the PPM tools, like I've used Jira Align, which is actually can create these levels for you, which is an Atlassian tool. There's another one which is not an Atlassian tool, but actually I loved it, which is called Apptio Target Process. Apptio is a company, Target Process is their product. There are many different products that they have, and that works really well. You can really make it fit your process rather than fitting your process into the tool, and so on. Okay, so by that you would continuously know what is your planned velocity, what is your actual velocity. Now that is important. Again, transparency, right? We are planning, you know, projects worth 126 story points, but consistently I've been seeing that what comes out of this whole wheel, the bigger wheel, is about 80, 89, right? Okay, all right. So can I use the prediction model? to go at the SVP levels and say, hey, what can we do in the next 3 months? We can, right? Because you now understand what these numbers look like, and that's how you know what could be done as a guess. But no one has to keep guessing. Every month they get the real report of what is nearing completion, what is on hold, why is it not getting done, who is the owner to push it through, and so on. So with that, final set of questions. And I know I've taken a little more time here, but I just wanted to make sure you get the real value for the evening. And so I wanted to not just push through the content. Understanding is really important here. And so I took a liberty of using, a little more time on your Tuesday evening. So my apologies for that. Any last set of questions before we, give the mic back to Scott or James?
Any other questions? All right.
I'm good.
Well, that was very, very great presentation. And thank you very much. Again, just a round of applause for our speaker, for Anoop. Thank you very much. Awesome. Very appreciate it.
Thank you.
And again, thank you all for attending tonight. I wanted to let you know that I put here in the chat. Let's see, hopefully we have it. That is our post-event survey. And we would like to hear from each and every one of you. And for those of you that have PMPs or other certifications, this is how we can award you the PDUs for attending tonight. And so please make sure you fill out the survey. And actually, if everybody can just take a quick, just make sure they can get into the survey. Just a quick, just confirmation of that. I think we have everybody. Okay, fantastic. All right. Well, again, thank you. Thank you, Anoop, for a really great presentation. And again, I appreciate that you took the extra time because it was a lot of really good detail there. One of the things that I was looking for is, which was really great, as far as how you were talking about just better management of the backlog. Just was really, really enlightening and enlightening for me. So thank you so much. Again, so for everybody here, we'll just before we wrap up, just remember that we will be meeting again a month from now with why am I not remembering our Anthony Kamen. And so he'll be joining us here a month from now. So again, you know how to reach out to me if you have any questions or suggestions or concerns. And again, wanted to say thank you very much, everyone, for spending the evening with us. And again, one more time, thank you very much, Anoop, for a very, very a wonderful
Thank you.
talk.
Thank you. Very
Thank
good.
you all, and thank you
Thanks,
for giving
Scott.
me this opportunity.
Thank you.
Great job, Scott, and great job, everybody.
Scott.
All right, have a great night, everybody. All right,
Thanks,
good night.
James.
Bye,
James.